Welcome to AgencyRise, the podcast where digital marketing agencies rise together. I'm your host, Chris Rudolph, and I've spent the last decade coaching digital agency founders, helping them scale, systemize operations, and break free from the day-to-day grind. So on this podcast, we'll talk about what really moves the needle for agencies, getting clients, building a team, creating systems, productivity, focus, and freedom. So no hype here, no guru nonsense, just real conversations from the agency trenches. So today's guest is Bo Pokstefl, founder of Brand Harvest and Deal Harvest, who's based in Slovakia. Brand Harvest and Deal Harvest help B2B founders and executives systematically build authority and demand via LinkedIn, thought leadership, and social selling. Before these two ventures, Bo bootstrapped Contentino, a social media management SaaS, to a multi-million-dollar ARR. So Bo, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much.
Awesome. Well, let's get started. Those that may not be familiar with you, tell us a little bit more about you, your history, and your agency.
Yeah, as you mentioned, I started in the SaaS business. I was 7 years in Contentino as a co-founder and CEO. And after 7 years, I basically sold my shares, had a beautiful sabbatical, and then trying to figure it out what to do. So, but the SaaS history of mine really influenced of what I'm doing right now. And for those of you who don't know Contentino, it's a social media platform. We were having over 6,000 to 7,000 agencies and brands using our solution, mainly from the Western Europe and US and Canada. But once I left, I started a small boutique SaaS studio where we were trying to bring in new sales and marketing SaaS businesses. However, the AI changed everything. So we were just observing what's going on the market, because it was just changing so fast. Like every month there was an update, and we started to figure it out. Okay, we have the couple SaaS projects, but the market changed so much. It was really hard to scale for us at that time. And all of those SaaS projects were basically ChatGPT wrapper. So what we did, we actually sold all those projects in micro acquisitions. And then we were thinking okay, there may be something else. We wanted to generate cash and build a sustainable, profitable businesses. I've never raised any capital. So we were trying to find a business model which should work out quite well for us. And my co-founder came to me hey, there's a trend of productized agencies. I've seen the beautiful examples in the US. And you know that European market is adopting some of the trends later on. So we were hey, so let's figure it out. What are we best at? And I was always great in social media. I was having quite an influence on LinkedIn, and I believe I still am. And I even had ghostwriters back in Contentino. So there was a team writing content on my behalf to just kind of elevate my personal brand. And I understand the value of a personal brand of a founder. A lot of the businesses and a lot of the media coverage we got was because I was unconsciously, not strategically, building on my personal brand. So we're thinking all right, so this is a beautiful niche. We'll picked up my phone and sent a couple of emails of my friends from the business and asked them look, I have a proposal. This is something what can work for you well. And that's how we started the agency business. We put 3 different tiers together, but the value proposition was a little bit different. The value proposition that time was that we are a social selling service. So we want to deliver high quality leads through our methodology. And the methodology was quite simple. We build thought leadership content on behalf of the CEO. We target the thought leadership content to their target audience. We build the brand awareness, and we slowly move the audience down the funnel to make some kind of demand. Then we were doing automated outreaches and doing lead magnets and stuff like that. So we got a lot of interest. However, we figured out this is not, first of all, the value proposition was kind of over-promising. It was not working for every type of client. We had a lot of software houses coming to us hey, Bo, we need to fix our positioning and we need to start social selling. We need to have more business because, as you know, the software industry changed a lot. A lot of software agencies were still having a problem. So it was kind of easy sell for us. But in the long run, we've seen that we just couldn't figure it out a way for most of the software agencies how to deliver high volume of qualified leads. LinkedIn and our methodology was just not built for that. On the paper, on the theory, it was working great, but in reality, it was not working. It was so, maybe 50-50. It was working nicely. We decided that, okay, we need to polish our positioning and really focus on something what we are great at. And what we are really good at is delivering high quality thought leadership content which resonate with the target audience of our clients. Just building the personal brand, building the authority, and being very technical. Like, we have now clients who are in cybersecurity space, who are building crazy AI models, who are in biotech, who are in many scientific fields, and we can communicate on their behalf, and no one knows that they are having a ghostwriter or agency behind them. So this is what we are really good at. And also the thought leadership ads. It's something what we are really like pros at, and not so many businesses are actually using the LinkedIn thought leadership ads. Maybe they don't know about it. Maybe they're afraid and they have bad experience because the LinkedIn ads are fairly expensive or were fairly expensive when you were running company page ads. But the thought leadership ads are fairly cheap. Like in the US, we have a couple campaigns where we are getting 30 cents per click on LinkedIn on the target audience.
Wow,
So
that's a
the results are amazing. So that's why we decided, like, okay, let's focus on the top of the funnel, middle of the funnel, and let's let our methodology be as a support and supplement to influence the deal flow. Because many our clients, they came to us and we were the only marketing activity they were doing or sales activity they were doing. And it's not
Mhm.
ideal. It's one of the pillars, and that's where we are now. I believe we excel in this field. So I'm sorry, maybe I talk too much. You can stop me anytime you
No.
want, but yeah, this is what we do.
Yeah, that's interesting. I love taking your background and what you do well and then turn that into a productized service. And yeah, how would tell me maybe dive into like how does your experience as a SaaS founder, like how did that shape the way you productize or the way you looked or designed your agency from scratch? Because I imagine a lot of our agency founders out here, I know a lot of them that I meet or work with, they're purely on the, like, the done for traditional done for you agency service. Maybe they started as a freelancer and then they've grown a team. So, like, they've only looked at it as manual custom delivery. Maybe just tell a little bit about how you approach that, and I think we could learn a lot from that.
Well, from the day one, we knew that we need to be very careful on deliverables, meaning the more custom work you do for clients, the more messy it gets, the lower the margins, the more time you spend on it. So we always focused on the processes and what are the deliverables at the end. And of course, many clients came to us like, and can you do this? And can you do that? We always had these dollars in front of our eyes, like, yeah, sure, we can do that. But at the end, it was not such a great deal because it slowed the processes down. We needed to add more people in the team, and we are trying to be as lean as possible because the more people you add, the more people on bench you have, the higher the expenses. So, and this is maybe the difference from the SaaS businesses or from startups which are being funded. They have a huge burn rate. They don't care about EBITDA. They don't care about profit margins. But we knew that this has to be a high profit business. And in order to be high profit business, we have to be careful what we are delivering, offering, and not complicating things, because then it get messy, then the margins are lower. And yeah, it's hard to say no to money. But at the end, if you keep it lean and if you don't add more services into it, that's the way how you can scale the agency.
That's really valuable as far as like, yeah, like you do something well, you establish trust, and then, it's natural for clients to be like, well, what else can you do? Or like, can you do this? And when money is presented, especially as you're growing and building things up, or
Yeah.
you have a goal, or you're like, boy, if I can add additional 20K a month, I can hire like a COO or a account manager or something like that. I
Yeah.
think that's a real strong temptation. So that's a really
Yeah,
good point.
it is. And by the way, that's why we have two brands. We have Brand Harvest and Deal Harvest for a simple reason that we wanted to distinguish these two services. Like the Deal Harvest is for businesses who wants to get the demand generation and lead generation fast. And there are different kind of products and services. And in Brand Harvest, it's purely for founders to build their brand awareness and build their authority in the field. That's why we created these two brands. We started it as a deal harvest, but half a year ago, we are like, okay, we need to sort this out and be clear what we communicate to the market so we are not being confused.
Yeah, that's something I find, as I'm working with agency founders, I recommend when there's kind of like 2 niche, areas that are merging, instead of trying to keep them together, but, like, keeping them clear, but under the same umbrella can be a way, it's just a matter of having 2 brands and having, really specific focus for each one. Do you work together at all, like, on clients? 2 brands, uh, are work in conjunction?
Yes, yes. I mean, it's basically the same team, but the processes are different. Like we are
Mhm.
very much AI heavy. That's actually interesting because today I was reading the new Y Combinator batch, and one of the companies or projects they were looking for it was AI native agencies. We're like, what? Y Combinator is looking for an agency? So that was a signal like we are doing something right because,
Mhm.
of course, you need to have human in the loop, but in order to scale it, you need to have AI architecture in place. Without that, it's just so difficult to scale.
Yeah, so I'm curious, if you'd be willing to share a little bit about the framework that you use for turning the founder's voice into, like, real
Mhm.
demand. Even if it's not, I
Okay.
understand it's not always instant, but, like, yeah,
Mhm.
how do you approach that?
Well, I actually have a beautiful Miro board where it's all visually explained. But first, how we start, we always sit down with the founder and we do positioning with him, the business positioning and personal brand positioning. We need to understand where he is on the market, where are his competitors, where's the value proposition, etc. Based on this, we do the strategy, we do the content pillars, the topics we are going to communicate to the target audience, and then we start creating the content. And we create the content based on 3 data sets. The first one is we are observing what are the trending topics on the target audience, what resonates with the audience right now. Second, we are synced with the marketing team and the product roadmap. So we know what's happening within the company, so we can plan ahead and communicate similar topics. And thirdly, most importantly, we do an interview with a client. So we book a podcast studio. It doesn't matter if you are in San Francisco, or if you are in Prague. We book a podcast studio and we do an interview with him or her. And this is where we get the juice. This is where we get the insights and know-how. And this is actually what I'm still doing. I'm now right now I'm teaching the social media managers to do that, but I'm kind of passionate about asking the questions and diving deep into the topics. And that's where we get actually the most interesting insights. And we translate that later on into the content. We do static images with the videos. We cut the video recording into the 30-second shorts, and that's how we get it out. We publish it on their behalf, of course, but everything is being approved and feedbacked by the client. Some clients, they approve it and comment it by themselves, some founders, and some are having marketing teams to do that for them. So one of the goals is basically we don't want to waste time of the CEO or CTO or the founder or the key role in the company because it's very valuable. So we calculated that they spent with us maybe 1 hour a month. That's top. That's what we need in order to build their brand. But without their input, it's always kind of difficult. So it's always great when they are reachable to us.
Yeah, I think
And
you
yeah,
bring up
sorry.
a
So that was the first step. Then we have another 2 steps. The second step is, of course, we sponsor every piece of content to the target audience. Then we are creating like a sub audience where we are creating audience which is engaged with the content. So you have pretty much we are getting around 10 to 20% engagement rate on post. And this audience is very valuable because they are consuming the content. So what we do, we retarget these people with more
mm,
bottom of the funnel content like case studies, playbooks, free consultations. Actually, not free, paid consultations, because it's something is for free. It kind of smells this is a lead magnet. So there's several ways how we can move them down to the funnel. What is also interesting is that when you run the thought leadership ads, you are getting naturally an inflow of new connections from your audience. And it's
mm.
perfect because these are your marketing qualified leads. These are the people who've seen the content, find it interesting, and they hit the okay, I want to follow this guy or girl. Uh, and that's when you should always follow up with them. Because if they send you connection requests, you accept, the notification is so small that they forget. They forget about
Oh,
you. So what you need to do is like, hey, thanks for connecting with me. Like, what got you interested? That's it. So there's a couple ways how you can move from the just brand awareness part, top of the funnel part, down to actually generating some leads and some business out of it.
Yeah, I love that. I think when you were talking about like the 1 hour interview a month, and then how you turn that into multiple things in multiple ways, and then you syndicate that with even like paid ads and retargeting. I think that's genius because you're not like if you want to get a result, and time is valuable, or like a lot of times the founders or the leaders, they have limited time. If they had the time, they probably would be doing more content, and their time is valuable. But if that what comes out of that output is super valuable. And I think it's both like impact and time, like value proposition. So I can see that how that's really attractive.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, that's one of the value props we have for them, that it's not taking much of your time. And if when you see some founders and managers being active on LinkedIn, most of them they do it by themselves because they're passionate about it. They have it
Mhm.
instead of Instagram or TikTok or Facebook, but such a small number of people who do that. And there's a lot of LinkedIn coaches who will teach you how to set up the profile right, how to do the content. But I know that in fact, 90% of these people who get out of these workshops, they maybe create 3, 4 posts and then they're done. Right.
Mhm.
So it's all matter of some consistency, passion. And if you are not excited about this posting on LinkedIn, just outsource it or do it in your marketing team. Like there's a lot of marketing teams doing that for founders and CEOs.
So what's been some of the biggest drivers of growth for your own brands lately?
Retention, and that comes with changing the value proposition and changing our target audience. So we are not overselling as we did at the beginning. We are not promising something we can't deliver. And this increased our retention tremendously. So that's one thing. And this is what I've been taught in SaaS business. Like churn is a killer of a business. So we are really focused on keeping the client happy, satisfied, and delivering the constant value. And this is what is quite tricky with the agency business. In the SaaS business, you have a kind of predictable revenue. You can see what's coming. You have different marketing channels, different acquisition channels, and you can measure it nicely. But what I see in agency business, the deals we are getting are quite random. So all the businesses, not all the businesses, but a lot of businesses are coming from the methodology we are doing for our clients. We are doing the same thing for myself. Then word of mouth starts to work out quite great, but these are all unpredictable things. So
Uh,
right now, what we are starting to do is we started to wide label our solution to other agencies. We kick-started this year. Again, I pick up the phone, I called some of my friends, and now we have several agencies who are using our solution and our service as their service. And it's great because they are serving the same client base. They can immediately upsell their clients. They can increase the retention on or vendor log because immediately they have another service they're providing to the client. So, and it's headless. It doesn't take their time. It's on us. So we have figured out a way how we can do wide label, and this is a way how we are trying to. I believe that we will be successful this year to scale even more, and it will be much more predictable because we can calculate how many agencies we can partner with and how many of the agencies' clients they can convert to the wide label service. So this is something what we were always looking for, like how we can find predictable revenue stream or acquisition model. And I believe this wide label is a thing. It's a way to go.
Yeah, no, I can definitely see that, and just that, yeah, the problem of it's not predictable one to one, but like that, where you have one to many, like one relationship can generate leads, month after month for years. That's genius. On the flip side, I'm curious, what have been some of your more painful lessons so far?
The painful lessons we had, I would mention two. One was the beginning of our business that we were over promising. I was not really happy about it, but there's so many marketing businesses and tools who are promising that they will deliver you new business But from the nature of their service, they're just top of the funnel activity. So they will not have direct impact and you cannot directly calculate ROI. So I was thinking that's all right. It's industry standard. If you are an agency and they are serving B2B clients, you need to talk about ROI. But we don't do that anymore. We had churns and I was just not happy that we are selling something we cannot deliver to everyone and we are not 100% sure that we will. So that was a hard lesson because we had a couple of clients who gave the trust and they believed that we will deliver the leads for them, but we didn't. And that's why it was kind of hard, and it was great. It was a pivotal moment for us. And second thing was that it's anecdotal. We were trying to get as many testimonials as possible, and we were having this big event in Prague. So we put out these nice flyers, and there was a lot of testimonials. And all of a sudden, one of our clients were calling me like, "Hey, bro, what the hell is this testimonial? Like, we never approved anything like that." Like, you didn't approve? We talked about it during the report. Like, no, because this is not true. It was a very complicated situation, and I felt very bad because I thought that it was approved. So now I'm very, very careful. Like every time I want to share some data and some case studies of our clients, I always double check and ask, like, can I show you as an example to my potential client? So I'm very careful about this because I know that it can be sensitive, especially when you are ghostwriting or basically doing something on their behalf. A lot of clients, they don't want to know that someone else is creating content for them.
That's good. That's good. What are some trends that you're leaning into here in the next year?
Well, I don't know if it's a trend, but I will repeat again the white label thing. I think that's kind of unique for the agency. In the SaaS and software business, it's very common to have a white label solution, but for services, I haven't seen many examples. The AI native agency, it's a trend. It's here in and it's maybe advantage for young agencies who are just starting out because they don't have the baggage from the traditional agency business models and they can fresh start. So definitely AI native services and being niche, productized, of course, productized services here, but keep it niche. Like especially when you want to have a scalable business which is not really heavily relying on you as a founder, you need to keep it niche or do a separate services and be very careful what you do because then you are in this trap of having this traditional agency model. And we all know that it's very, very hard, time wise, especially.
Yeah. So we're gonna move to our rapid fire round. I'm gonna ask you some short, pointed questions, and you can give me kind of the first thing that comes to your head or short answers. So, what's one tool or piece of software that makes you more effective?
I would say Claude, but my co-founder, he's a software engineer, and we built everything native. That's kind of
Oh,
interesting. So we have all our proprietary. Most of our tooling is proprietary, our own.
and what's one habit that you swear by?
With one habit, I wake up regularly in the morning. I drink my lemon water with a little bit of pinch of salt. Then I sun stare and I go with my dog for a walk
Love
because
it.
that part prepares me for the day. The mornings are always the most important part of the day for me.
That's awesome. I agree with that. That's very similar to mine as well. I don't have a dog, but yeah, the lemon water and just that time of reflection's big. What's one book or mentor that has impacted you?
I don't know if it's impacted me, but right now I'm reading Black Swan from Taleb. He was working on Wall Street back in the days, and he's talking about the predictabilities and randomness. It's very interesting, eye opening actually.
And what's one piece of advice that you'd give agency founders out there that are listening right now?
SaaSify the agency.
I love that. Sassify. I don't know if you coined that, but I love that. I'm gonna remember and use that because that I think that's really really wise. Bo, where's the best place online to learn more about you and what you're doing?
I believe my LinkedIn. I'm fairly active there, even though I have people sometimes writing for me. But yeah, LinkedIn is a place to find me.
Awesome. Well, Bo, this has been great. So many just gold nuggets, especially for agency founders that are kind of stuck in that custom manual, like traditional agency trap. So thanks so much for coming on the podcast today.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Chris. It was a pleasure.
And for everyone tuning in at gym, in your car, or at your desk, thanks for joining us. If this episode was helpful for you, be sure to subscribe and share it with another agency founder who could benefit from it, because agencies don't rise alone, they rise together. This is Agency Rise.